The light here does not move so much as it settles. It finds the edges of the stone and the damp curves of the leaves, resting there without urgency. This narrow corridor holds the air differently than the open street just beyond the gate. Here, the world is measured in inches and the texture of moss. To walk this path is to feel the proximity of the walls, a physical embrace of timber and masonry that suggests a profound safety. There is no wind to disturb the ferns. They remain held in a state of absolute suspension, their weight supported by the stillness of the morning. Every surface is a witness to the passage of time, yet the moment itself feels remarkably thin, as if the clock has paused to admire the way the shadows stretch across the brickwork. It is a quiet dialogue between the structure of the home and the persistence of the green. The bench waits, not for a visitor, but as a permanent resident of this shadow. To look upon this space is to understand that a garden does not require vastness to offer depth. It only requires a boundary and the absence of noise. The enclosure is the point. The proximity is the gift. From this height, the geometry of the courtyard reveals a perfect, intentional containment. The slate floor is a mosaic of gray and silver, catching the overhead glow while the corners remain steeped in a cool, blue-tinted shade. The maple stands as a singular vertical note in a horizontal world, its branches reaching out to touch the boundaries of its enclosure. There is a sense of completion here, a feeling that nothing more could be added and nothing could be taken away. The walls are high enough to swallow the sound of the neighborhood, leaving only the sound of one's own breath. It is a room without a ceiling, a secret shared between the house and the sky. The door at the far end remains closed, sealing the privacy of the moment. One can imagine the heat of the day radiating off the stones long after the sun has moved on, a slow exhale of warmth into the evening air. There is no movement in the leaves. The tree is a sculpture. The stones are a foundation. In this small square of earth, the concept of elsewhere ceases to exist. The focus is entirely internal, a study in the beauty of being restricted. The descent into the gravel garden creates a shift in perspective, a literal grounding of the senses. The crunch of stone underfoot has long since fallen silent, leaving only the visual rhythm of the boxwood spheres. They sit like green anchors in a sea of pale gray, their roundness a soft contrast to the sharp lines of the wooden decking. The ivy on the back wall is a thick tapestry, a living insulation that keeps the world at bay. As the afternoon light begins to yellow, it grazes the tops of the planters, highlighting the grain of the clay and the individual leaves of the ivy. There is a heavy, golden quality to the air, a thickness that suggests the day is folding in on itself. This garden is a series of layers, each one designed to shorten the gaze and bring the attention back to the immediate. The house feels close, its windows reflecting the green and the gold, bridging the gap between the interior life and this outdoor sanctuary. It is a space designed for looking rather than doing. The stillness is cumulative, building with every passing minute of observation. The boundary between the home and the air is marked here by glass and cedar. Even at this elevation, the garden remains an enclosed experience, defined by the height of the bamboo and the proximity of the brickwork next door. The light is diffused, casting no harsh shadows, allowing the green of the bamboo to appear exceptionally vivid against the dark troughs. There is a verticality to the space that draws the eye upward toward the sky, yet the physical footprint is small and intimate. The cedar tiles are warm and muted, a floor that feels as though it belongs indoors. This is a high-altitude clearing, a pocket of nature held aloft by the architecture of the residence. The brick chimney nearby provides a sense of history and permanence, a solid companion to the swaying lightness of the plants. Despite the height, there is no sense of exposure. The arrangement of the pots and the height of the stalks create a screen that filters the world. Everything is composed. Everything is at rest. The silence here is elevated, a quietness that exists above the fray. As the blue hour descends, the garden loses its edges and becomes a collection of textures. The stone basin holds a circle of dark water, perfectly still, reflecting nothing but the deepening sky. The pebbles of the path are cool to the touch, their rounded forms nestled against the soft, spreading ground cover. The fence is a dark silhouette, a wall of shadow that defines the limit of this private world. On its surface, the faint patterns of branches from a neighboring tree are cast like a ghost, a visual echo of something beyond the boundary. This is the time of day when the garden feels most like an interior room. The air is still, and the temperature is dropping, creating a crispness that clarifies the view. There is a sense of profound isolation here, not as a lack, but as a luxury. The small scale of the yard ensures that every detailed curve of the basin, the spill of the green, the dark grain of the woodies within reach. It is a miniature landscape, a world contained within a few square meters, offering a silence that is as deep as a forest. Dappled light plays across the stone of the cottage, creating a shifting pattern of warmth and shade. The black iron of the gate is a delicate frame, a transparent barrier that marks the transition from the public to the deeply personal. Within this small alcove, the white flowers glow with a soft luminescence, their petals catching the stray rays of sun. The rug provides a soft surface, an invitation to stand and linger in the threshold. This is a garden of increments, a place where a few well-placed pots create a complete atmosphere. The stone wall is thick and ancient-looking, a grounding force that anchors the delicate life of the plants. There is no movement here. The air is trapped in the corner of the porch, held in place by the architecture. The scene is one of quiet welcome, a pause before entering or leaving the home. It is a moment of stillness captured in the play of light and shadow, a testament to the power of a small, cared-for space. The world outside the gate feels distant, a secondary thought to the immediate beauty of the stone and the bloom. The midday sun creates a high-contrast world of sharp lines and deep blacks. The concrete planter is a brutalist weight against the softness of the grasses, which stand perfectly vertical in the windless heat. The wooden bench, built directly into the structure of the terrace, follows the line of the wall, creating a seamless integration of furniture and garden. The plaster wall is a blank canvas, caught in the glare, providing a stark background for the graphic shadows of the grass. In this space, the architecture of the house and the architecture of the garden are one. The enclosure is absolute, a high-walled sanctuary that blocks out everything but the overhead sun. There is a heat here that feels clean and static. The texture-rest smooth plaster, the rough concrete, the weathered wood are the primary subjects of the scene. It is a minimalist retreat, a garden reduced to its essential elements of light, shadow, and form. The small scale makes the stillness feel concentrated, a dense pocket of quiet in the middle of the day. At the bottom of the light well, the world is cool and subterranean. The ferns thrive in the soft, indirect light that spills down from above, their fronds unfurling against the gray river rocks. This is a garden carved out of the earth, a hidden layer of the home that exists below the horizon line. The glass door acts as a mirror, doubling the green and creating an illusion of more space within the tight concrete confines. The walls are monumental, rising up to meet the sky, enclosing this pocket of life in a silent, stony embrace. There is a humidity in the air here, a damp freshness that is isolated from the dry breeze above. The rocks are smooth and varied, a silent floor for the lush growth. This space is a testament to the resilience of nature in the most restricted of places. It is a secret garden in the truest sense, known only to those within the house. The silence is heavy and profound, the kind of quiet found in caves or deep woods, yet it is contained within the modern structure of a residence. The path of stepping stones leads the eye through a haze of lavender, a narrow transit that feels much longer than it is. The shingles of the house provide a rhythmic, textured backdrop, their gray-brown tones harmonizing with the silver green of the plants. The trellis above is empty for now, a geometric skeleton waiting for the season to change. The light of the late morning is clear and direct, illuminating the fine details of the lavender stems and the rough surface of the stones. There is a domesticity to this scene, a feeling of a space used for daily passage, yet it remains perfectly still. The fence is high enough to ensure privacy, creating a corridor of calm along the flank of the building. The air here feels scented, though the stillness prevents the fragrance from traveling far. It is a garden of transit that invites one to slow down, to notice the way the light hits the shingles and the way the stones sit in the earth. The enclosure is soft but firm, a boundary that defines this narrow strip as a place of peace. Perched above the world, this tiny roof garden is a private island in a sea of dusk. The zinc planters are cool and metallic, holding the pale grasses that catch the last of the purple light. The glass perimeter is nearly invisible, a transparent wall that keeps the garden safe while allowing the eye to drift toward the blurred city lights on the horizon. The wooden stool is the only sign of a human presence, a simple object that emphasizes the solitude of the space. There is a vastness in the view, but the garden itself is small and contained, a grounding point in the open air. The light is fading fast, turning the grasses into delicate silhouettes. This is a space of transition, where the day ends and the night begins in perfect quiet. The city beyond is a distant hum, unreached and untouchable from this private height. The stillness is absolute, a quiet held between the glass and the sky. In this small square of elevated earth, the scale of the world feels manageable, reduced to the texture of the grass and the cool touch of the zinc. The stone birdbath is the center of this small universe, a weathered basin of still water surrounded by a lush carpet of moss. The ferns lean in as if to listen to the silence of the water. Above, the brick wall is a warm, solid presence, partially hidden by the tangled stems of climbing roses that have finished their bloom. The light is filtered through unseen trees, creating a soft, even glow that eliminates any harshness. This is a corner of the garden where time seems to have pooled and thickened. Every element is small and detailed, requiring a close gaze to be fully appreciated. The enclosure of the brick and the softness of the green create a sense of being deep within a sanctuary. There is no sound of water, no movement of wings, only the steady, silent growth of the moss and the ferns. It is a miniature landscape that feels ancient and undisturbed, a pocket of the residential world that has been surrendered entirely to the quiet. The focus is tight, the depth of field shallow, bringing the world down to this single, perfect arrangement of stone and leaf. The morning light hits the white stucco wall with a brilliance that makes the eyes ache, casting long, dramatic shadows of the palm fronds across the patterned tiles. The floor is a grid of intricate designs, a sharp contrast to the organic, flowing lines of the palm. The bistro chair stands alone, a silent invitation that remains untaken. This patio is a room of light, an outdoor extension of the home that feels completely private and removed. The high walls block out any view of the surrounding world, leaving only the blue sky and the bright surfaces of the garden. There is a clarity to the air, a freshness that comes with the start of the day. The stillness is sharp and defined, mirroring the shadows on the floor. Everything is clean, composed, and waiting. The small scale of the patio makes the light feel more intense, the shadows more important. It is a study in geometry and light, a place where the simple act of sitting would feel like a significant event. The world is reduced to these few elements: the chair, the palm, the tile, and the sun. The dark slate path is a somber line through the bright white of the pebbles, a visual guide that leads through the narrowest part of the garden. The boxwood hedges are clipped into precise, low walls, mirroring the height of the slate. The dark wood of the fence rises up on one side, a warm but impenetrable barrier that keeps the space intimate and focused. The afternoon light is soft and directional, catching the edges of the pebbles and the tops of the hedges. There is a sense of order here that is deeply calming, a feeling that every stone and leaf has been placed with intent. The path is too narrow for two, a passage designed for a solitary journey. The silence is reinforced by the density of the hedges and the height of the fence, creating a soundproof corridor of green and stone. As the light begins to fade, the contrast between the white stones and the dark slate becomes even more pronounced, a rhythmic pattern that persists in the stillness. It is a garden that rewards a slow, measured pace, a place where the boundary is the most beautiful feature. The fire pit is a cold, stone circle, its purpose on hold in the deepening twilight. The floor cushions are scattered on the terrace, their soft fabric a textural counterpoint to the hard stone underfoot. The ivy on the high wall has become a dark, indiscernible mass, a living curtain that encloses the terrace in a cocoon of shadow. The light is a faint, bruising purple, casting no shadows but softening all the edges of the world. This is a space of rest, a garden designed for the end of the day when the eyes are tired and the mind seeks enclosure. The small scale of the terrace makes the high walls feel like a protection, a fortress of quiet in the residential landscape. There is no movement in the ivy, no heat in the pit. The air is cooling rapidly, bringing a stillness that is almost physical in its weight. The house is a dark shape nearby, its presence felt but not seen. In this moment, the terrace is the only world that matters, a small, stone-bound sanctuary where the day is allowed to finally expire. The morning mist has settled into the courtyard, blurring the top of the single cypress tree and softening the lines of the wooden wall. The circular gravel area is a perfect pale ring, a focus point in the small, enclosed space. The stone bench sits in the shadow of the wall, its surface damp with the morning air. This is a garden of extreme simplicity, where each element, the tree, the bench, the gravel is given the space to be seen. The mist creates a sense of total isolation, as if the rest of the world has been erased, leaving only this small residential square. The air is heavy and quiet, carrying no sound from beyond the walls. The cypress is a dark, vertical sentinel, a fixed point in the shifting gray of the morning. There is a timeless quality to this scene, a feeling that it has always been this way and always will be. The enclosure is perfect. The stillness is complete. It is a final, quiet proof that a small space can contain an infinite amount of peace. The garden is not a place to go, but a place to be.